Sir, go ahead and give us a brief introduction on yourself, my friend. Tell us a little about yourself.
Hey, I'm Rob. I go by the name Rob Blivion. I play mandolin, I play bouzouki, and I just put out an album called Stoner Mandolin, and I reached out to you, and you said, why don't you come on the radio show? So here I am.
That's awesome. So, tell us a little bit about your fascination with the mandolin. When did this all start?
Yeah, I've been a guitar player for a while, and about 4 or 5 years ago, I just randomly went into a guitar store and saw a bouzouki, which is it's kind of like a traditional Irish instrument. It's sort of like a mix of a mandolin and a guitar. It's the size of a guitar, but it's strung like a mandolin with like 4 pairs of strings. It's tuned similarly. I played bouzouki for a while, and then I was kind of looking for like a smaller bouzouki that I could travel with, like one of those little mini backpacker guitars. And somebody was like, "Well, mandolin's basically the same instrument, and it's smaller." So I started playing mandolin, and honestly, now I play that much more than anything else. So I kind of backed my way into it, and it just wound up being a good fit that I wasn't expecting. So I've been playing a ton of it the last few years.
Is the latest from him, and he joins us today here in our broadcast. So, explain the concept of stoner mandolin to us.
Yeah, people have been asking me like, what's the genre of the stuff you play? I, I think I grew up listening to, stoner rock essentially, Pink Floyd, and then kind of heavier stuff, Metallica, Pantera, but a lot of what would be considered stoner rock. And then, now I listen to that. I love all that stuff still. And then I listen to a lot of, I don't know what the genre is of this. There's a stuff called Sahara Rock. It's like a collection of bands in North Africa that I've gotten really into over the last few years.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then like there's one band in Thailand that I really like. They play in villages and they just do like improv stuff, like walking through the village, and it's kind of psychedelic sounding. It's really cool. They're called Kuhn Naren. So I was gonna call it. Somebody had asked me what I call it, and I had originally called it Stoner World Mandolin because it's like world music and stoner rock played on a mandolin, and then I just shortened it to Stoner Mandolin, and I figured that was just like a catchy name because I've always had bands that are like tough to spell, or album titles that are there's 50 albums with the same name. Like with my other project, with my other project, the last album was called Quicksand. So it's like, I mean, there's a million songs and albums on Spotify and whatever that are called Quicksand. So the beauty of this is I can just say, hey, look up Stoner Mandolin, and it's the only one so far that exists that's called that. So that's kind of how I settled on that title.
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit about Bloom. We're going to play that here in a few moments.
Bloom is kind of like a major scale. So I normally play minor scales and different scales, but this one was a major, and just kind of something. A lot of these tracks I just kind of like write on the spot and record them as I'm going. So I'll kind of settle on a scale or a vibe I'm going for, and I'll do like 5 or 6 takes and just pick the one I like the most and say that's the song. So that's what this one is.
Brief hold here on Skype, and we are going to play Bloom. And when we come back, we'll have more with our guest, Rob Blivion. Stoner Mandolin is the latest from him. It is a brand new album, and it is available on Spotify and all the other streaming services as well. And Rob Blivion with us today here on our big program. So, Rob, what was the some of the feedback you've gotten on this so far?
It's been surprisingly really good. So it's really cool to just hear people that are willing to listen to just one instrument. I've always produced albums and stuff like that, and this was nice because it's just solo recordings.
Why do the mandolin, and why do just one instrument?
I just, over time I realized that I have another project called the Danbury Lie, and that's kind of like more produced songs where there's full band stuff on it, and I collaborate with other musicians on it and stuff like that, and layer a lot of tracks. This was something where I've been playing solo a lot. Like I play open mics, I do gigs sometimes, and I just show up with a mandolin and play. And so I just decided I wanted to have some recordings of just me playing the instrument, and I felt like it was more different, more unique than when I end up producing it with a band in some ways. Whereas when I do the full band sounds, a lot of the time it ends up sounding more like rock music because that's kind of where I come from. Whereas this kind of sits in its own place a little bit. So I just wanted to have some recordings out there of just me playing the instrument.
Fantastic. We have got a great guest with us today. Joins us live here on our big program. And so Bangkok is another track we're going to play here in a few moments. Tell me a little bit about this.
Yeah, so this one was kind of inspired by this band called Paradise Bangkok Band. It's a kind of like psychedelic band from Thailand, and it was just something that I started playing one night and just kind of had a vibe of them, so I wound up titling the track after sort of naming it after them.
Before we let you go, my friend, how do people get in touch with you online, social media, the websites, everything? How do they do this, my friend?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram's a good one. You can look up at Bobby Mandolin. Facebook, I don't think I have a page for Rob Blivion yet, so but I'm on there. As you can friend request me there. You can email robblivion@gmail, and then also just look up my other page, the Danbury Lie, DANBURYLIE, the Danbury Lie. That's kind of like my main page that I use, and I got a bunch of stuff on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and everything. So, but yeah, just look up just Google Stoner Mandolin and go from there is, I guess, the easiest way. You'll find me somewhere.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Rob, thanks for doing this, brother. Really appreciated the time, and we will talk to you soon. Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
Appreciate it. There he goes.
All right.
It's a Rob Blivion.